this time we will begin with the presentation for the sentence of the 13th Tribunal Court in Corrientes, Argentina for the monoculture in forestry monoculture. Today, we're doing this very important webinar to launch this important or this milestone sentence. Thank you for being here to learn about something that impacts whole Latin America, and it has been made invisible in the environmental situation. Thank you for being here. Just a housekeeping bits. We have interpretation in English and Spanish, Portuguese and Spanish. Everything will be ready in just a couple of minutes, and we'll begin with the welcome to you all. My name is Natalia Green. I am the Global Director for GARN, Global Alliance for Rights of Nature, and I'm also the Secretariat for the Court. In November last year, the court had the opportunity to visit Corrientes in Argentina. This field visit was extremely important. That began with the field visit to the rural areas in San Miguel and other territories impacted by the monocultures in forestry, especially in Nariño and Corrientes. And at the moment, we had a public audience, a public hearing. This hearing was done based on the claims based on the defenders of the grasslands. This is highly important because it opened the eyes of the court, because it has been invisible. Is this important issue for the monoculture in the south of Latin America. At this time, this appointment, we listened to communities, rural communities, indigenous communities, and civil societies, environmental and academia, and environmental defendants. And it's based on pine and eucalyptus monoculture in a great scale. We had a very important court, Alberto Costas, president of the court, Morales, who just won the prize, the Goldman Prize. And in Argentina, Jaqueline Arriagada, who is also from Chile. Additionally, we have Maximiliano Mendieta from Paraguay. This court had the DA of the land, Nicora, who's also with us today, and it was really important for the court because they saw firsthand what is happening in Argentina with this model, this monoculture model that we saw in Chile last year. Well, regarding what was happening in monoculture in Chile in Bio region, which has been impacted by monoculture and also by an immediate impact, which is the burns and fires. This environmental situation, we saw it with our own eyes and we heard during the sentence. Today, therefore, we have a presentation from Renata Nicora, which is a brief summary of the case of the monoculture in Corrientes. She is the DA for the earth. And then we'll listen to Dulcinea Lezcano, defenders of the grasslands, and then we'll move on to Chochón Romero and Mr. Jara, who's also part of the community that has been affected, and how the sentence will help them in their fight against monoculture. Based on this experience in Corrientes and Bio in Chile, we have an important situation, which is the alliance, Latin American Alliance against forestry monoculture, understanding that this is not something that is only happening in Corrientes or Bio. We will listen to the experience and the fight of in Chile with Ms. Figueroa regarding what is happening in Bio. And also we will go with the experience in Cauca, and who will talk about what is happening in Cauca region. Then we will see what is happening with the paper industry and what is happening in Latin America and their area too. And at the end, we will have the presentation of the sentence with our very important, very prestigious judges. and by Enrique Viale, who will share what were the resolutions of the sentence that we are launching today. And then we will close with our fantastic Martone, who's with us, with our director, who will give a wonderful words to close this session. Thank you for being here. For us, for the court, it's a pleasure to have you here and to say that this is a very important issue, understanding that great pristine ecosystems like the grasslands are being replaced by monocultures. And this makes us really sad, and it makes us so sad that that this is not being heard everywhere. This is why we have this important situation, not only for today, for this sentence and for the court, for the communication that is coming out of all this experience. This is important so that the people that can see they have a support of a bigger network, that when we try to understand that there's no separation between humanity and nature. We are nature defending, and we have rights, and we have the rights to get, and we have the legal procedures to guarantee those rights. So I will pass now the mic to Nicora. She has been the DA for the Earth, and Renata Nicora Chequin. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today in this important day. Today we will present not only a sentence, but we will present the voice of a territory, the voice of the nature and the communities that cannot do not have a presence in the legal system. As a DA for the Earth, I verify the testimonies and the proofs of the consequences of a model based on monoculture of pines and eucalyptus. And it's important to clarify that this case talked about exotic ecosystems and exotic species that were bringing to a very exclusive ecosystem. And this case that took place in 2024 was a process that let the court know that it's not just a technical discussion, a technical debate, but we are facing a deep transformation of the habitat and the ecosystem, and for the people in Corrientes. With the visit of the court on site, they saw that it's not an empty territory. It's a great province with a lot of biodiversity. Therefore, in the case, the court heard the evidence of how the impact of the monoculture on the grasslands is not only the death of nature, the alteration, the influence on the water, and also impacts the life of communities. This sentence represents a forward movement in the rights of nature in Argentina. Nature cannot be understood exclusively as an economical resource, because ecosystems have their own value. They have the right to exist, to regenerate, and to continue with their cycle, just like us. So it's important, this sentence, because it sets a precedent and creates a new legal and cultural frameworks. Many of the rights that are evident to us, they began as legal precedents, as ethical legal precedents. So this sentence in Bio Bio shows us the conflict shows us about the conflict going in Corrientes in Latin America. These are not areas that cannot be sacrificed. Development is not about planting through hectares of exotic species, and you cannot impact life processes. If it kills, it's not progress. So we hope that this sentence will open the floor for a debate and the construction of models that are really that can go hand in hand with nature and cycle. Because if we defend nature, we defend our future. Thank you. Thank you, Renata. Always for us, it's a great pleasure to listen to you as DA of the Earth in this important case. And now we're going to go with Dulcinea Lezcano. She's Defenders of the Grasslands, and she will explain to us who are the Defenders of the Grasslands and what is happening with the monoculture. Why did they approach the court? How was their process? Where the court, how they brought the court. Thank you for this space, for this, for paying attention to this important subject matter. So Defenders of the Grasslands, to give you an idea, is that socio-environmental organization by biologists, citizens, artists who are concerned about the advance of the forestry industry in the grasslands and the actions that we carried out. We do it with education for preservation of these native habitats and through different communication systems and collective actions. We are born because of the monoculture forestry, and as an answer against them, it is one of the ecosystems that is predominant in Corrientes, but because nobody is talking about it and the lack of protection that we don't have, there is in my country and in the world, it makes it a very deep ecosystem, very vulnerable. We, with the plan of forest plan in 2030 for Argentina, it looks for monocultures in Corrientes and the plants of cellulose and paper plants in this area. These awoken us our defender instinct, and the provincial government let us know about our advancement in the chain with a great resources coming in, a lot of income coming in the province in Corrientes, and this is something that is really concerning for us because they plan to go ahead. There are several milestones that we have acquired on the way to the court, and with the forest fires that we lived in 2022, 2023, where we had more than 1 million hectares in Corrientes. This represents 10% of the province overcome by fire. And unfortunately, there's no real discussion on the model, and the provincial government is putting on the table as the only solution to fight against poverty. And unfortunately, we still have the same poverty index with over this 30-year model. So this is what we ask ourselves. So who is having this development? Who is having the money? Who's getting the money? So in our work, we also understood what is happening with the people that are directly impacted by the monoculture. People who are resisting daily, who want to go back to their land that has been destroyed by this production, and evidences that are being quieted down. And we feel there's the need to talk about it, to raise the voice of the grasslands outside of the province that unfortunately is just kept quiet and being killed in silence. During the visit of the court, we saw several landscapes of Corrientes in one of the areas of the Guarani areas with drinking water with one of the greatest sense of drinking water available for the planet. We saw with Guarani people, there is no real job increment. The water has been dried out. They cannot plant in their own land, in their own places. We went through some plantations in San Miguel, plantations that are really next to lagoons and lakes, they are being dried up because they're really intensive agricultural production, and we had a lot of problem regarding road access because it has not been kept, and there are no landlines. There are no landlines. People have no access to connections, to cell connections, because these big forests, monoculture forests, it really interfere with the possibility to connect. They cannot communicate. They have been left alone because they cannot use landlines. They cannot be connected. And among other consequences that we saw, among many other consequences. And finally, we ended the visit in Santa Barbara with the neighborhoods that fight back against the agro production and the forestry production. And we produced a documentary called No Son Bosques, or These Are Not Forests, and we are happy to present through GARN. So thank you, Dulcinea, for your presentation. And thank you, defenders of the grasslands, too, for having approached the court with this very important case. We were very impacted by this, seeing all the consequences, direct consequences from the model and from the burning practices, and people being isolated because they have no connection, and things that impact their daily life. It was really very extreme and very difficult. And Chochón Romero and Benjamín Jara are part from the communities that have been impacted, and they will let us know what is happening and how will the sentence impact and help their fight. So Chochón, if you can tell us a little bit more. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone? There's a little echo because maybe, I don't know if you have two mics. So thank you for giving us the possibility of being here, as we are always saying, it's important that we are here and we can bring this possibility to talk with you, and through the analysis of the court, we can have a true positive objective for the community, so that we can be listened to, so that our voices can be heard, our screams can be heard, so that we can go back to a normal life and contact with our plantations, with our orchards, with nature itself, and to be able to breathe unpolluted air that you can see here, clean air. Thank you, Chochón. Can you tell us a little bit more what has been happening? We were there 2 years ago. I understand Dulcinea was telling us that now you have the risk of a paper industry. What is happening? Yes, unfortunately, since the sentence that we had in 2024 in November until today, we didn't see an impact for us. Nothing has been changed. Unfortunately, Dulcinea was saying that the national and provincial government, what they're really aiming for is to create more plantations, and we are really concerned about it. And very recently in the community, they were taking down all the natural habitats and the grasslands to plant this monoculture. So we were not heard, and until today, nothing is happening. No one is hearing us. the government is not making decision for the people. Have they been burning more? Yes. Not big forest fires, but yes, in the places where they took down the natural grasslands, yes. And the oldest plants and species like the laurel trees, all which is a natural heritage, they are destroying this to use the land for monoculture. For these big trees. Thank you, Chochón, for your testimony. So we saw on the field in November 2024, and however, the sentence take a little time to develop because it wants to be a legal instrument that will help back you up. So right now we're launching this sentence. So we hope that it's not only useful for your fight, but really raise awareness. This international court, the aim is to raise the voice of the people that are not being heard. So this is why we're launching this today, so that the world can take better awareness of what is happening with your fight. I don't know if you want to say something else, if you want to, maybe Mario Benjamín is speaking now. I know that he's with you right now. Yes. I would like him to speak too. So thank you very much for bringing us and to this discussion. I hope this is not the last sentence, and we keep working together. So thank you, everyone, and a big greeting to all of you. This is not going to be the last time, Chochón, and we hope that the sentence will be very useful for your fight. It's interesting that since Bio and Corrientes, we have the alliance against the forestry model. So this will help you know that you are part of a network and there are people defending your fight. Thank you. And right now, Mario Benjamín Jara, he is from the communities in the territory, and he will let us know how are they being impacted by all this. So Mario Benjamín will be sharing your device. Hello, Mario. Nice to have you with us. It's a pleasure to see you again. Welcome. Can you let us know a little bit? Chochón told us a little bit about what is happening in the territory. So now if you can give us your testimony. Yeah, his mic is off. Yeah. Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Good morning, everyone. We are more or less, we're not fine. Everything is the same. We keep fighting. Thank you for us, for this case. Thank you to you for our case. You can see that is the monoculture that we have in. Yeah, so we cannot plant. We don't have an orchard. We just saw this big forest of trees. We're trying to survive us, the birds. The land doesn't answer. We don't have water, and we're really concerned regarding what is coming. The flooding. It's a very, very difficult life, but we keep on fighting, and we will not leave this place. Thank you for defending the grasslands, the native habitat, the native grasslands that still live. And what else? I don't know what else to say. You know, the roads, the signal, communication signals, we have no access. Natural resources, where is it? We have no representation. I was talking to someone because I was trying to talk to someone because they're killing the native forests, and they told me directly, go directly to the resources, the forestry resources. Why not? But we don't have like a natural resource that is fighting for us or that we can really defend, and we want to see this end. The problem is the forestry model, pine, eucalyptus, the soil, the land is not answering. Our land is dry because we live from what we plant, what we eat from that. My mother, this is what she did. She raised us all. My grandparents, they were born here. And right now, our territory is surrounded by eucalyptus and pine. And we cannot keep on living like this. We need help. At a provincial level, at the level of the state, of the government. It's not about the amount of land, but we don't have access to what we live from the land. They took it away from us because right now we cannot live from what we plant here. We keep on trying. My mother always had her farm, but she lost it. And this is how we lived. This is how we grew up, how we were raised. And I'm just one of the thousands of families with farmers, because I'm very proud of it. We are farmers, but unfortunately our land the soil is not answering. There are no roads. We complain because they did us a bad turn. They destroyed our land, Corrientes, the entire province. Thank you, people from Corrientes, from international lands, and thank you for listening to us, because we really need help. We need help and support. We have no water, no land. It's very hard for us. It's hard to go on what we go on, because this is our this is our treasure, and this is our land. I'm sorry, this is not the way that I used to speak, but I'm so angry about this. And I want to keep fighting, because sometimes we need to be heard. We need to have retribution. The land is have retribution for the water too. Water is down to 30 meters now. It's different, so different from the way I grew up. It's so sad, so sad. But we have the strength to go on, and thank you that you are listening to us, and I hope we're still on time, that we can have something or someone that says, stop, enough. If you can see here, that is the monoculture, pine. And this is how we live. And everything was free and it was open. We don't have native forests anymore. The birds have left. Many animals have left. What you see is dirt, mud, mystery. When we were such a rich, rich land where my grandparents were born, my father, my mother, we were raised here. We want to live here, and we will continue to live here, because this is our patrimony. This is our treasure. We don't ask for much, but nobody helps us. We've been moved about. They were moved about, and we have been left with nothing. But we have our will to go on. And right now, before we talk with the animals, but now, right now, the animals don't speak back to us. The land is hard. It's difficult. The land is too hard. We don't have tools to work the land, but we have the will to try to take care of what is still left. I don't know what I can say, but except thank you, and thank you. And I hope that you can hear us, hear our voice, that you can hear like me, my family, everybody that is, that we are farmers, that we live off the land. It's hard having animals. Grasslands, they're hardly grasslands. They say that we cannot burn the grasslands, but we lived here. We know how we did it. We know we had a traditional way of doing it, but right now we're forbidden. So the grassland is not renewed, and now there's more and more mud, and there are less grasslands. Nothing, and we don't have the land from. I don't know how they buy the lands. For example, the lands in front of me. I don't know how they got them, but suddenly they were planting trees, pine trees, and as we tried to plant our land, and we couldn't do it, our farms, because we tried to plant, but the land is not giving back. It's the land is not answering. Unfortunately, our dear, very rich land is not answering. This is what we're living. There are no more fruit. The lakes are dry. There are no more shores. The animals have nowhere to drink water. It's horrible what I'm saying. I understand, but this is where I live, where I grew up. It's so different from when I was growing up. Right now, it's sadness. It makes you so sad, but we have the will to go on because it's ours. They want to buy it away from us, but they want to take it away from us, but we're going to continue fighting. Thank you to you, but something needs to happen. Something needs to change. We need something to change. Look at this. Where is the natural resource? The real true forest resource with the real true habitat. It's so sad. The roads. I have my aunt here she's 80 years old. Well, I have my little truck, but my truck is barely entering back. Nothing. It's difficult. It gets destroyed soon, and nobody's helping us. There's more people are moving out, and we don't have help. It's so hard. It's not just about the land. They took the water too. They took the grasslands. They took everything. But we are not moving. We will continue to fight because this is our territory. This is ours. Sorry, I think that's what I'm gonna say, but I will continue asking for help and asking why. Why did you do this to us? Why is this happening in our lands? So, thank you. Thank you, Mario, for your words. I think you presented your reality and your pain. We share the pain with you, and we share this frustration of a model that just sits in you and destroys lives. And we listen to your mom in the hearing. Everything has changed. There's no water, no roads. It has left you isolated. Thank you, Mario, for your very strong testimony. We all felt it very close in our heart. And what we want is to help. We cannot change, but directly, but we have to push with this big loudspeaker to bring your voice to the international panorama, so that you can know that you're not alone, and there are many people who are with you and who can ratify with this sentence that there's a great impact with this model, and that we cannot afford to sacrifice people and territories. Thank you for your very strong testimony. You leave us very sensible and sensitive to your issue and we hope that your message, we can broadcast it to the world. Thank you, Mario, to your family. to your mother who could participate and know that we are with you. My mom is here. I don't know. I can maybe she can come to the camera. Yeah, her testimony broke us our heart the way you broke our hearts. But if she wants to say something, we would love to hear her. Yeah, she's here. We were in the territory and we met her. Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's such a pleasure to see you. How is everyone doing? It's a good news that we have the sentence, but always our heart is broken because we know that the situation is getting worse, and we are listening. If you can give us your testimony, we would love to hear what you have to say. Yeah, it's the same. It's same. We don't have farms. We don't have orchards. There's no water. There are no rains. But we're hearing that we have there are floods in June, but this year there's nothing. It's still the same. We have to keep on because the deforestation keeps on happening. They keep working on it. So we and it's threatening to grow bigger, right? Yes, there are new plantations, there's small trees. They keep planting, but we cannot, yeah, they keep planting, but we cannot plant our own farm. So what we want to do is that you can continue with your lifestyle and nobody takes away your water, your land, your lifestyle, thank you for your testimonies. Thank you, Chavela. And please remember that we are with you. This is the message saying that we are launching the sentence. It takes time because it's a legal document that we hope it will bring you tools, but we are with you, Chavela. And from what we worked with Bio and with you, it's not only in Argentina and Chile, but it's happening in Latin America. Right now, we're listening to the testimony in other parts in Latin America. So please stay and listen to what they have to say, because it's not just you. And there are many of us in this fight, and we hope that we can raise everybody our voices and bring it to a panorama. Thank you for having you with us. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, all of you. And please stay and listen to the rest of the testimony. We're going with Janny Figueroa. She is from the model of forestry model in Chile, and she is going to what we did in Chile in Bio and how they have been impacted by the forestry model and the forest fires. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your invitation. And a very big and warm hug in Argentina we're going through the same thing as that. So I'm part of the network for overcoming forestry model. We have more than 7 years in this organization. We have researched and bring to the table the several consequences of the forestry model in our country. It's many organizations are together in Bio, but it's been growing in other regions that are being exploited by this model. Geographically, the forestry model is centered in O'Higgins and Los Lagos, the lakes, but especially in the region of Bio, we have a monoculture and forestry monoculture. It's the region with the most amount of areas in monoculture. So Araucanía, Maule, and so on. In 2024, we invited the court for the rights of nature to meet our area, this great impact and the terrible devastation by the model that is social, cultural, geographical, and has been growing and making worse in the last year, and particularly if we have lived with the great forest fires. The court came with the forest fire in 2023, at the beginning of 2023. And I have to mention some effects from this forest fire, because the numbers talk about this great devastation that we lived as a country. 7,835 people that have been hurt, 26 people who died, 2,500 houses that have left, 1,500 with partial houses that were destroyed, and hectares that were burned, 6,000 farms, dead animals, farmers that were harmed, 84% of beehives that were affected. Many people live up on bee production, and this is one of the effects. And this has been happening under what is the forestry model that begins the peak in the 70s. The elements that I think are the same, or the same characteristics that we can see in other countries, this model that has been exported when it's consolidated in Chile, Chile, which has been a country for the neoliberal experimentation model, and now it's being exported to other areas. This model is centered on, and we all know this, on the monoculture of pines and eucalyptus, and with the great degradation of the land that these exotic plantations bring to us. And there's another data that I would like to give. And we have in Chile approximately 3 million hectares of monoculture plantations. So it's 17% of our forest in our country. And this model is for industry in the hands of the family Mate and Jaqueline, with the Arauco and the MCP companies, and they are the greatest fortunes in the country. And what the court came to do in 2023, they came to confirm what we have been saying and giving record to in these years. So the conclusions in the sentence that given by the court talks about an impact that is a great threat, and it's deep. And when our colleague is speaking, it means that it's happening elsewhere. So the model is being applied elsewhere. And so what we have been doing through time is still not enough to stop what we are doing. We are facing a model that has great impact in people, on the natural ecosystems. It's an ecocide, which is the severe damage to the ecosystem, and ethnocide, and speaks directly to the communities that are being harmed by this model, the culture of the Mapuche people in our territory, and how this model has affected gravely the Mapuche communities in our region, and and neighboring regions. And the sentence shines a light on the impact and on the biodiversity, the hydric resources, the water resources, the forest fires, erosion, soil erosion, the loss of native habitats. And the sentence is a call to action so that state and the company and society can recognize and move forward with the rights of nature. And keep advancing with the relationship with the environment, with all the people everywhere. What is the situation that we think is important, that is really important of what has been the sentence that confirms what we have already been saying and claiming? But I was saying that even though it is an important way to shine a light of what is happening in our region, and now that we see from in Argentina, also in Corrientes, however, we're still under threat of all the impacts of what is already happening. And in this way, I think it's important to say that we have a mega forest fire at the beginning of this year that affects, and we have a great, a lot of harmful data. 34,000 hectares that were burned down, with a strong concentration in our region, thousands of housing situations, many people that lost their homes. They are living terrible situations because they, aside from everything that this forest fire brought to the table, these people that are left homeless have been left to the side by the government, and they are generating their own things to try to raise their voices, saying what is happening with them now. I would like to also say what Mari was saying very strongly, and it has to do that even though we have, we're always bringing this to the table, we're shining a light, but there have many challenges when we face a panorama that is very complicated. We have an extractivist model that keeps on advancing with the support of the far-right government, just like in Argentina, and that will continue to support this extractivist and industrial model that just keeps making it more serious and more damaging what is happening to the people in the communities and on site. We have been perpetually fighting, but we are lacking tools. We need to strengthen the communication among organizations, not just in our countries, but in Latin America. We have to develop new strategies so that we can keep bringing ourselves back in this model that makes us invisible. So I think that is our challenge. The organizations need to strengthen, need to work together better. This situation that it has affecting us, and everything that is affecting us, just like one big, there's one big model that is responsible for this damage. So I would like to stop here. There are many things still to say. We're happy with the sentence. Thank you for the court, what they did in our country and how they supported the way that it went ahead. And now we have a lot of challenges, and we need to keep talking together and having these situations so that we can shine a light on what is happening. We need to get together with more organizations, let people know that we are not alone, so that we can advance together against a model that is a very violent model. Thank you. Thank you, Janny, for your testimony, for letting us know what has happened, what is happening in the sentence with Bio Bio since then. We would like to give you more support so that it can be stopped or it can be contained. but what we can do is raise your voices, bring a megaphone to your voices. So thank you, Janny, for letting us know about Bio Bio, what is happening. We know that there are still many things to be done. And thank you, see Ricardo over there, who's also a pleasure to see you and being with you. And know that we are together in the same fight. And even though it keeps expanding, there's more of us now. Before it used to be wasn't completely invisible situation. Now there's more of us. Thank you for letting us know what is happening in Bio Bio in Chile. And now we're going to talk to América Niño from the territory of ethnic intercultural life in Cajibio in Cauca. América, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. Please tell us what is happening in Colombia. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I am part of the organization, of civil organization. It's a rural organization, national organization. It's like CNA with the territory. We're part of the territory of interethnical intercultural life in Cajibio, which is a network of organizations, a unit of 3 communities of a same territory with 2 indigenous communities, Nasa and Misak, in Cajibio, and part of the community, rural community in this territory that is joined to the agricultural department in Colombia. And we decided 5 years ago to get together based on the problems that we have, that the model was happening in pine and eucalyptus in the territory, and monoculture of pine and eucalyptus. And this model has been developed by a multinational, which is, it was used as Morder Capa, and in Colombia was called ARCO. This multinational corporation in our territory has 3,000 hectares for pine and eucalyptus and many others that we don't know about, which is, it has been on lease, and it has generated a lot of impact since they've been here in 1980. The first impact, the elders say how the multinational arrived to destroy the native forest, bringing personnel and workers from the coast in the Pacific coast in Colombia, families, Afro-Colombian families that came to work in the company to raise down the forest, and they began to plant pine and eucalyptus. And we identify not only the impact against nature, but the specific impact against people in the companies who came here as indentured labor, almost labor slavery with the company. And the communities, the rural communities, they began generating resistance against this model because of the way it came onto the land. But several years ago, we decided to get together as an intercultural territory in Cajibio with the purpose of, once we have used all the resources, all the ways of dialogue with the company, with the state. We have tried all the doors to stop this monoculture model. We decided that we needed to begin to have de facto actions and very specific actions of getting our land back, getting the soil back. In Colombia, now you know that Colombia is a country with the highest index of the territory and property in Latin America. And from then, this company has taken advantage of that to continue taking lands away from the people. So we defined to do as communities in this area, we decided to record the impact of other monoculture, trying to take out those forests of eucalyptus and pine forest and try to occupy back these territories. This has generated a lot of impact on the population. We organized trying with the people with action plans and de facto actions, and we trying to find legal representation and technical support to getting back our land, to planting our land, especially with identity for the people there we protect them, because the situation is the way that we have been criminalized and made seen as criminals in Cauca department. And what connects us with this Latin American network is understanding that this agroforestry model is not only happening in Colombia, because in Cajibio, we're talking about 3,000 hectares in Cajibio. In Colombia, it's more than 20,000 hectares of pine and eucalyptus that the company is owner. And it has an impact on land, soil, of the animal life, of the natural flora, because this model takes over the resources, exploits nature, and breaks the social fabric of communities. And many of these communities that have a relationship with the earth, with the food, with food sovereignty, with water, it begins to have, they begin to lose this relationship to the land, to the water, and to the food. They have to go back to the models of being hired, of being cheap labor, and they have to listen and obey the model. And especially in the region for the Cauca, there's a lot of violence against the population, which they have also been supported by organized crime, that they generate alliance with the company to try to stop the communities to defend their territories, and they can go back to occupying their land and begin to produce food for food sovereignty and popular sovereignty of the communities and indigenous communities. I would like to highlight something that is important. In Tebic, we have two indigenous communities, Misara and Nasa, that at this moment and throughout history, they had faced off in a violent manner to fight for their lands, for pieces of land. So we consider that the Tebic, it's a way to join communities, understanding that the model, this agro-industrial model, is the one that is that criminalizes these people and takes away their territories. And it's really not the communities shouldn't be the ones trying to fight for their land. So this is more or less the panorama. Thank you, America, and congratulations for your work together. I think it's really interesting trying to see how the model is being replicated elsewhere, but it's great to see that you're working together to fighting for your land. Thank you for the case that you have educated us on, and because of the matter of time, we're going to go directly with Sergio. Sergio Baffoni will speak in Portuguese. Please, if you can go to the Portuguese channel for the channel. Sergio Baffoni is environmental paper. He will talk about what is happening with the paper industry, that we know that it's also part of the impact that is coming very strongly in Argentina, in Corrientes. So Sergio, please, you speak in Portuguese. Thank you so much in this initiative. And the subject is really difficult and important, and you're going to see that it's also very complicated, because you have as you can see, there are many testimonies regarding what is happening with the affectations in different territories in the industry where you have timber. And it's important to look at the industry, their dynamic. My name is Sergio, and I work in a network for 200 groups among the world that is looking at the biomass and paper industry, because it's a big industry. This industry could expand its production and the consumption in the last 60, 70, 80 years without stopping for 1 second. Because here you see, this is the hill of lumber that will be converted into paper. This is what it does. And unfortunately, and it's going to continue growing, the global market for this industry reached a valuation of 340 million in the world, and especially, and it will continue to grow, especially now for the e-commerce. Right? You used to think that digital life will have an impact, would have a positive impact on paper consumption. This happened in the area of paper for printing paper, graphic paper, but the market of packaging market was really strong because of e-commerce. Packaging has grown a lot, and it will continue to expand. To double in the next 6 years, because of the crisis that we have in pollution because of the plastic. Now the industry, instead of adopting more ecological packaging, is turning to reusable packaging. It's turning to disposable packaging from cardboard, paper, and therefore the dilemma is whether we pollute the oceans or do we take down forests. That is the only possible option. This is the green aspect of the industry, and you know about this much more than me. What is the true situation? Behind a cardboard box, you have the face of deforestation, the destruction of the natural ecosystems, the illegal appropriation from lands, droughts, forest fires, so on, just to be thrown away, because this box, it will goes to the trash the same day that you open it. This situation is desperate. At the same time, 3 million trees are being 3 million trees are being taken down every year to produce these cardboard boxes. In third place, it is the third place of the is the third situation for deforestation by deforestation. Imagine that in the world you have 400 million tons of paper per year. It's enough to build a tower of paper and cardboard, A4 paper, a very tall tower that reaches 20 times the distance between Earth and the moon. It's too much. There's research in Kassel University in Germany that analyzed how much timber is being used in the world and what is the capacity of the forest to reproduce this biomass in a sustainable manner across time. And we're over that capacity. We are consuming much more the capacity of the forest to produce timber. And there's no sense anymore to talk about sustainable consumption, green consumption. We have to reduce because any increase in consumption, it just means more areas of land, of forest being taken down. What is happening now? What is happening now? The global consumption is happening, especially in the north, in North America, Europe, China, maybe in a future India, but India not yet. So far, the cellulose production, it will change for the south. This is South America, this is Asia, Indonesia, especially. You can see the difference between consumption, producers. Brazil, which is the biggest producer of cellulose, and eucalyptus cellulose, exports 75% of its production. Uruguay, Chile exports 80% of their production. And we're monitoring we're monitoring the movement of the cellulose industry because you can produce paper in 4 countries of the world that import cellulose. But if you are going to produce cellulose, you have to have a forest nearby, no farther than 100 kilometers from your plant. And new cellulose plants means more affectation, more impact, and more danger. Where will you have the bigger? Where do you think we're going to have the most number of plants, cellulose plants? Yes, in Latin America, because it's considered the biggest area or the most attractive area for the market. This means that you're going to invest because you're going to have more income and more returns on your production. Brazil is reaching 26 million tons a year, followed by Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia. Well, Colombia is a little bit bad. Paraguay is not producing, but please, Paraguay will open a cellulose plant that is huge. It's a project from the World Bank to giving income resources for eucalyptus plantation. And this is where we will see the third wave. The first wave was in Chile, Uruguay, in the coast, and Brazil. And the third, and then the industry changed and developed came into inland. And now they're moving to the heart of the continent, where we have the border between Paraguay, Mato Grosso do Sul in Brazil. Plantations are broadened. Brazil reached 10 million hectares of plantation. And this means that a consumption of the territory that is immense, that is huge. So these enforcers that control the territory, this is here. Direita, this is the map of the concession in Brazil, in Espírito Santo in Brazil. The part in red is the plantations of eucalyptus. And this industry in the territory doesn't leave behind. It doesn't leave any space for that. But this is why, this is why the territory is being saturated, and these companies expanding, because this area has been saturated, is moving on to other countries. The new project from the cellulose plants, most of them is in Brazil, but in Chile, Paraguay, and Uruguay. This means that we have an expansion that will have more serious, with bigger impacts, and it's really important that we have the people working together so that we can resist, so that we can stop this expansion and work against this industry, because so that they become afraid to attack where people are together. So for example, or especially, and the World Bank investors and so on maybe have to build together an alliance. We have to make them more vulnerable against these people that want to move ahead, because it's a real war that is happening. It's a scale, a continental scale. It's not just isolated cases that can take place, because the industry is not going to stop. Thank you. Thank you, Sergio. Very, very clear, your presentation. And it just frightens the scale that the project is frightening. The scale can grow, the cellulose plants in countries like Chile, Argentina, and it's very frightening what can happen, and the lack of awareness that we have as consumers for the boxes, paper, and packaging. Thank you for your important presentation. As you can see, we have covered the great experience of what is happening and the reason why we have this alliance against the forestry model. And right now we have the great moment of the presentation. Jackie, she was our great judge in our court in Corrientes. Jackie, please, you can give us the sentence. Thank you, Nati. Wanted to say hi, everyone. Renata, she was DA of the Earth. Francesco, as part of the judges. Nati, from the court, part of the court for the rights of nature. Our colleagues, Enrique Viale, who have already shared two cases in the same area, which is this horrible and Machiavellian and terrorist, which is this model in air quotes of monoculture of pines and eucalyptus, and the settlement of cellulose plants and the creation of cellulose plants in these mega projects in different countries. Everything that has been raised here by Mario, Benjamín, Chochón, our dear Chavela, whom we met in her community, it leaves you. It brings so many memories. What has happened in our own territories from the beginning of this blood and fire model here in Chile since 1974. and with a true modification at the beginning with the dictatorship, and then with the complicity of the next governments after we returned to democracy in Chile. Seeing this model house being set up all over, that it's killing biodiversity, nature, that is killing life, culture of the people affected, especially in the rural areas. It's a big drama. So I think it's important to raise awareness to the alliance of Latin American Alliance Against a Monoculture Model, which is a tool, social construction tool, collective tool that contributes to the fight against this model in our territories, our countries. In Latin America, especially in all the, because if you're not there, I mean, I think it's important to join together before they come. They go ahead and try to destroy some other places. So it's important that we have to work together to fight off. Just like Maria Benjamin say, no, they will not take us out of our territories. And on one hand, this is on one hand, there's the conclusions that were presented. The court says that they effectively recognize the rights of nature. But this monoculture goes against the rights of the Mother Earth, consecrated in violating her natural rights, the natural rights and the right to exist, to be respected, for the regeneration and continuation of her cycles without human alterations, the right to water, for example, in my country, the water has been privatized since the beginning of the dictatorship, the right to water, and later on becoming a law, and so on. The right of integral and holistic health without toxic and radioactive contaminations and pollutions. All of this is the Declaration for the Rights of the Earth. And the court concludes this situation affects the rights of earth, territory, natural resources, as well as the cultural integrity and the food sovereignty of the rural communities and indigenous communities. Therefore, in agreement with the agreement in 169 of the International Labor Organization and the Declaration of the United Nations, thus recommend the Corrientes government to recognize effectively recognize the rights of nature and its internal regulation as the only way to ensure the survival of biodiversity and the human communities that depend on it. 2, design and implement a plan to move beyond the current forestry model, one that includes productive alternatives in harmony with ecosystems and with smallholder and community practices. 3, implement a comprehensive restoration and regeneration plan developed from the ground up with the participation of local communities, along with the declaration of an immediate moratorium on the planting of invasive and pyrophytic species to guarantee unrestricted respect for the human rights to water, to land tenure, and to food sovereignty, which have been systematically violated. 5, recognize and protect the work of defenders of nature and human rights, guaranteeing their right to monitor and organize without suffering persecution or threats. We thank the defenders of grasslands in Corrientes that have approached the court to be present, for being present in Corrientes, to bringing us to your territory so that we may contribute to raise awareness in these terrible dramas that they are living in their territories. And this in general, and also these fake solutions that are being created, like carbon bonuses installed in the territories, and that they mislead and misdirect these instruments, that the government uses as misleading instruments for people who live in territories and rural communities. And I say misleading because this is the great solution for the economical situation, that bringing us misleading solutions, economical solutions, bringing disagreement to the communities. This makes it hard for the community to really come into their whatever is left of their native forests and native lands and they can make, because many of them cannot reach the native lands because they have been destroyed, they have been burned down, to keep on building and planting more monocultures. So this is what I have to say, and thanking everyone for this possibility, and and you have my full commitment to this. Thank you, Jackie. Always a pleasure. Thank you for presenting the sentence, for being a judge in our court. And right now we give the mic to Enrique Viale, our fantastic judge, and who will talk about these two territories, especially in Corrientes. Good day, good afternoon to everyone. I'm very excited for this sentence, which is a work of a long-term work, and for the people the territories who've been fighting this fight without being heard, and the fantastic professional people from the defenders of the grasslands, also for the people in the territory that are living the consequences of this model that nobody talks about. And we have to be self-critical within the socio-environmental movement. Is it just a matter of planting trees? What could be bad about planting trees? But while we have governments and corporations that hide the impact, the negative impact, they are the ones raising awareness about campaigns and misleading campaigns and it's up to us to break these misleading campaigns. They feed myths on the benefits of these monocultures. For example, curtail this signage in the saying, and calling forests in these plantations and saying they are environmental benefits, boons, and we see throughout the countries in our region that has this model. But if we go to the territories, we are witnesses that the environment is being sacrificed for the benefit of a few corporations that have names and families. We have in the Cono Sur, we call Arauco, huge corporation that it's buying more land. But this is not the only one. It's the symbolic one in Arauco, Argentina, Chile. It's creating this havoc. We see the impact of the model is in many, and I think it's important to say this. We said it in Corrientes and we repeat it here. This activity is an extreme figure of extractivism in agribusiness, as well as mega mining that we have history in our regions, in Pelea, or oil exploitation in different, fracking, so on, offshore, so on. And we have to take into account for this model, industry model for the monoculture, even though it's called green, the local communities know that it's depredation and domination of the people, the land, by multi-corporations. And with this greenwashing, that when we talk about the forest, and this I learned from my colleagues, defenders of the grassland colleagues, most of the society, we think, trees. And we think forests, we think they're forests, but they are hectares of, but in a native forest, we have many different types of species with different heights. They're fungi species with its own specific flora and fauna. That is a forest. That's a real forest. But a hectare of monoculture, we only find clones of trees of a single species designed to be taken down in a short period. It's a monoculture that when it stops the incoming of light, impacts flora and fauna, and becomes a green desert for native animals. We saw this at the court. We saw it when we were there, and that is why I'm so proud to be part of the court. We saw it in territory. We saw in Chile in 2024, and in Corrientes at the end of 2024. We came to this monoculture, and the silence was deafening. No birds, no animals, no movement. Only this, Aliano, as Galeano was saying, these desolate clones, one to the other, one next to the other. So in spite of the sentence and the greenwashing of the forest, we need to, the greenwashing of these forestry companies, they are not coming to save us from the climate change. They are misleading us, saying they're having a positive impact. It's sustained artificially by human corporations that try absorbing water and trying to take down timber as fast as possible for income and profit through cellulose plants. And we saw the people in the territory talking very plainly, but very, very soulfully about what is happening. We saw it today, we saw it then, we saw it. So this is why one of the most polemical situations for these plantations, for polemic situations. So aside from all the considerations in that and the economic situations in countries, but in Argentina, we have a law from investments for forest industry, and they have a lot of exemptions for 30 years used to the land. They have and very few, like mega money, they have all these exemptions. And now we have this great investment, the Regio, which means more exploitation, and we have to denounce it internationally. And next week in London, we have to say they receive a lot of millions of dollars reprobations for carbon markets. We pay them to destroy so that they devastate large areas. So they're supposed to say in the absorption, this monoculture does not really give it does not absorb carbon monoxide. It's just because it's too soon, they take it down very quickly. And so we have to see that all this negative impact that destroys biodiversity and life, it cannot be ecological solution. And most of these companies, they obtain certificates for forestry, certificates for industry. So it's a perverse mechanism of certification, which is another propaganda for the industry that is having more ecological and social impact. They sacrifice our territories, they sacrifice wetlands, grasslands in areas to the altar of income, at the altar of profit for mega corporations. And they hide and minimize the ecocide that they are producing. They minimize the killing of grasslands, wetlands, and whatever else they take down. There are no participatory process of the communities. It's happening in Corrientes, in Misiones, in Argentina, where indigenous communities are being pushed out by multinational corporations. For Arauco, there are no participation. It's just done by force. They come there, they settle by force, and there are no true studies, and then of thousands of hectares together under a mega project. Well, I could. So, they do have many other more impacts. It modifies the landscape, it minimizes and kills off biodiversity. Pines and eucalyptus use up a lot of water with their roots. We see it in territories. We saw how water began lacking, we began faltering. We had to dig deeper wells to find water in Corrientes, where water is a characteristic of the land, of the territory. It's the land among rivers. And now they have no electricity. They have to use more sophisticated wells and pumps to reach the water. This land between rivers in Argentina, and they are losing rivers. There's basins. Pines are invasive. Forests, eucalyptus are invasive. Forests, the seeds are dispersed through the wind, and they are not really suited for those lands, but it just keeps growing wildly. So it doesn't just impact the land where they are planted, but it really impacts where their seeds are blown over. The species that degrade soil because of the acidification because of the needles. Pines, eucalyptus, they are pyrophyte species. They love fire. They promote fire, propagation of fire. We saw this in territories. In territories like Chile and Corrientes, and agrochemical industries being used in the area that we saw in situ. They call them plagues because because they only want reproduction of pine. They have to kill everything so that their production can grow. And for many areas, this is happening in many areas. In territories, they have to buy fruits and vegetables in the town because they cannot produce it anymore in their own land. So this is part of the documentary created by the Defenders of the Grasslands. Please share your documentary in the chat. The name of the documentary is "They're Not Forests, No Son Bosques." These are not forests. And Corrientes province, it's like a massive experiment that is handled, unfortunately. It's a beautiful, beautiful province. I love it, with great culture, with beautiful people. But it's handled by the government as if we're one big farm, one big piece of land for the landowners. They don't pay attention to it. They want to use up 1,300,000 hectares. Right now, they're 500,000 hectares. But they want to go to 1,300,000 hectares, and just plenty. And it's a paradigm. It's become Corrientes has become a paradigm of the and advancement of exotic species is the province with most deforestation. Monocultures have reached in Corrientes. Almost, it's now part to the native forests. And at the same time, and it's not casual and it's not a coincidence, the land is becoming it's used for foreigners. Right now the land is appropriation by foreign bodies, now we used to belong to rural families, indigenous communities. This land is more than 1 million hectares out of the 9 million hectares. Arauco, like company from Chile, is just feasting on this. We talked about the forest fires in 2022. Just to give you an idea, forest fires that covered 12% of the province in Corrientes. 12% was lost, and we glossed over this with this, and everybody, you had the carnival in Corrientes, and people were dancing under the contamination of the smoke of the forest fire. And we have to break this because we are nature. We have a record in forest fires, so this is an invitation for disaster because this monoculture is parasites, and it will keep happening. And to end with the preliminary analysis, and then I will read the sentence. We said it, and we will repeat. Important for the sentence that this extractivist logic, this model, is done in Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, and the coast in Argentina. So I am very happy, and I think it's one of the consequences of this court. There's this disruption and the existence of the alliance, of the Latin American Alliance to resistance against the forestry model, that will have a lot of work, that will have them working together and fighting off this model, because this is this important model with the multinational situation in companies. In Latin America, 97% of the plantation of trees are for exotic species. This record is unbeatable elsewhere, for especially pine and eucalyptus. Most is centered in Brazil. Sergio gave us a really good explanation. 67%. Brazil is huge, but it's an own subcontinent. In Chile, 19% these plantations in Latin America. In Argentina, 7.1, and Uruguay is so small, it's also 7.1, which, so the proportion against the land is huge. But it was a decree by a dictator, a bloody dictator, Pinochet in Chile, the regulation that has been an example copied for Latin America, and especially for the Argentina legislation in the Decree 74 that took place in Chile in 1974 established several benefits, fiscal benefits, and several other benefits for forestry. In Uruguay, more than 7% of its territory is covered by monoculture of exotic. And 7% of such a small country, it's terrible. And nobody's talking about this. Bio in Chile, we talked about it. We have a sentence that you can please look up. You can read it. We were there, and it was really heartbreaking, because we visited after the Great Forest Fire, and we saw the this multinational planting again, where there was a massive, where there were dead people. There were already a lot of destruction already planting. Nothing was happening. They were same places without thought or process behind it. So in 2024, November 2024, this court for the rights of nature, we visited Corrientes after the claim of defenders of the grasslands against the monoculture. So this court, we have been everywhere raising awareness of what is happening. This court gave it a regional treatment for what happened and what we said at the beginning of 2024. We stayed for Bio Bio and Corrientes in that year. And we saw this delegation of judges, me, Jackie, Alberto Acosta, Maxi. We went there to Corrientes with and there are a lot of effort for the defenders. When it's a very difficult, complicated province, they're very alone. They threaten you, they leave you out, they isolate you. And we have Natalia Green was also there, and we visited the place, and we talked with the people in the communities in Nariño, in the capital, and we heard the victims of the impacts. And now we have a final sentence. For me, this highlights the work of all the social organizations, civil organizations, defenders, all the wetlands, and everybody defending, all affected, observing the sense of soil degradation, decline, the groundwater, the levels. This is a historical precedent to raise awareness that has a lot of social injustice, environmental injustice, economic injustice, because nobody is benefiting. The people are not being benefited by this. So formally, I will read this, how this court verified in situ, how they observed what is happening, the degradation, observed the extent of soil degradation, the decline in groundwater levels, the spread of fire-loving exotic species, and the isolation of rural areas caused by the fencing erected by logging companies. During the public hearing, testimonies and technical expert reports were heard, confirming the systematic nature of the impacts of the forestry model and the absence of state oversight and regulation. Based on this visit and the hearing, the court issues the following 7-point ruling. The court recognizes that the current forestry model in Corrientes province has caused and continues to cause an ecocide affecting all living beings, human and non-human, that inhabit the territory. 2, declares that the forestry model violates the rights of nature and human rights, which complement and reinforce one another. 3, the court affirms that this model systematically violates the existing weak environmental protection regulations with the complicity of the 3 levels of governments, national, provincial, and municipal, which have been negligent or complicit in the promotion and expansion of this extractive scheme. 4, the court declares that water, land, and forms of rural and community-based productions are subject of rights as essential elements for life and territorial roots. 5, the court points out that industrial plantations are not forests, but monocultures that do not reproduce life, and denounces false solutions based on carbon markets and other financial tools that only benefit large economic groups. 6, the court condemns the conditions of slave and child labor present in the forestry chain, demanding their immediate eradication. Finally, the court declares the grasslands and wetlands to be subjects of rights, recognizes their rights to existence, regenerations, and the maintenance of their life cycles. Thank you very much, and we continue. Thank you, Enrique. Thank you for your presentation of this important sentence. And this is the official launch of the sentence of Corrientes sentence, and I will hand now the microphone for the closing of the sentence. Thank you, everyone, because you have brought really important elements to protect and how we can produce legal precedents and how we can bring this space for highlighting and bringing and raising your voices. Mainly, the court contributes to strengthen these territorial struggles to consolidate the damage of the monoculture and create a legal framework and to impact in short-term territories against the companies. And as you have, many people have talked about, the people who have presented how the court, how create network of organizations that could work together and strategic alliances. So the sentence, so that Enrique was saying, confirms the impact of what is happening in Corrientes with the monoculture companies and what is happening elsewhere, especially with the planting of exotic species for paper industry. It reaffirms the human and natural rights and how we can coexist together. And here create a bridge between anthropocentric and ecocentric. And with a debate with Eduardo de Castro for how we can have a way to work a biophilia and how we can work together and move beyond the academic area and how we can, humans can work together with nature and our own impact and work together at the same level as an integral part of systems of life, when we have a specific responsibility to repair and give reparations for nature. And I think that we need to have that these rights are guaranteed, the rights to life, land, water. And I verified this sentence. In this, the sentence brings a legal framework for the impacted areas with the concrete recommendations for recuperation with a legal framework and giving sanctions and recommendations for the model. So the definition for ecocides is the responsibility. Even though the companies know what will be the impact, they go on and they continue doing it. When the sentence affirms that monocultures are not a forest, is based on scientific knowledge, based on research and what we have seen as academia. And this is something we can bring for the state and companies, but we're still being ignored. And now with the Janny Figueroa, with what happened with Janny Figueroa, with what happened in Bio, an ecocide, when she called this an ecocide, and this is part of the tribunal with the court as ecocide. Ecocide does not mean the definitive separation of the separation or eradication of an ecocide or of environmental or people, but it means in a real true impact on them and their territories. In this sense, in our case, the transformations of territory in their life, for humans and non-humans, and the industrial production impacts everyone. They impact their environmental rights, cultural rights, and the model of communities, and the version for production of and their way of life and rural production. So sentence recognizes that they have rights. The people living there and the non-humans living there, and the grasslands and wetlands are human rights, have their own natural rights. The defenders is the advocates for the people and the participation, access to information. The advocates should have all of this. Their rights have been violated, and with there are specific roles for the advocates and defenders. But I would also like to say that in consideration of the defenders and advocates, taking care of their territories and raising this claim in this court, we have created a policy for the defenders and advocates, recognizes their specific and vital roles preserving and defending. And to conclude, I would like to raise awareness. It's not just ecological. Our fight is not just ecological, but it's a debate against the violence, extractivist violence. One of the founders, Bandana Shima, in her paper on 1983, when they were already having fights against monoculture in eucalyptus. And she said, monocultures do not tolerate other systems. They're not sustainable. For example, given that sustainability implies that there's only one ingredient for the market, does not preserve sustainability, does not preserve habitat, does not preserve diversity, because you have to move people to occupy space, and it's a colonizing model that takes over people. And Bandana fights against the democratization, calls for democratization of knowledge, local knowledge, and an insurrection against this model. So I think we work together. This is our challenge, and these are what we want to do. Thank you. Thank you, Francesco, for your presentation and for this closing of the launch. Marie Valderluz, thank you very much for the organization of the court and tribunal, and for the wonderful team that have been working together with Francesco. Regarding the sentence and the signing by the different judges, remember that the judges are not the only ones signing, but also the assembly from the court led by Francesco. Thank you for your work that you have been doing this, and that you have, thank you for the launch of this sentence and this case. And with this, we present the launching, we present the launch of the case, we present the creation of the network to Latin America network against the fight of forestry model, and we hope that we can carry out this sentence, and our complete support of the advocates and defenders of the grasslands, so that they can apply it directly in Corrientes. I think that we can bring it directly to the territory. This should happen. But please, I remind you that this is an international event, and it will be online in Spanish, Portuguese, with English subtitles, so that we can reach the most amount of people. Because this is not something that is happening in one small territory. We are all involved. It impacts the whole world. And Latin America, once again, is an expansion of the monoculture. So thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the International Court and everyone who has participated. Thank you, and we will see you shortly. Please follow us on our network, and let's fight against this horrible, terrible model. Thank you, everyone. Good day. We have to keep fighting.